What is up, guys? Thanks for joining me on film study of fourth round pick Chris Rumph out of Duke. This is a guy that was really not on my radar other than his last name, which, is unique, and of course his position. But I never really studied him because, frankly, I could only get to about 100 players this year. So immediately, like most Chargers fans, and even Steven, who somehow missed this guy, I jumped to PFF, and the stats were good, like really good. There was a lot as a pass rusher, 48 pressures in 2019 and 44 in 2020, 16 total sacks the past two seasons. And that stat line reminded me of like a Cortez Broughton, right? That Telesco brought in on day three and was a guy with a lot of production. I don't know. That's just who it reminded me of. So here's how the film is going to work. I will let you know ahead of time that I think getting him in the fourth round is probably about right. I don't think he's a day two edge type because of various reasons that we'll get into, but I also don't think he's a late day three guy either. The fourth round, I think, presents, proper value for what he brings to the table. So, what we'll do is we'll start with a general look at what he was asked to do at Duke. And we'll start with his game against North Carolina, as you see on the screen here from 2019. And then I want to highlight what some of his specialties are during this game. Then I want to dive into, what his obvious negatives are. And then I want to do something for you guys that I think you can appreciate. And that's that I have all of his pass rush and run defense reps specifically against Liam Eichenberg, Christian Darrisaw, Tommy Tremble, Aaron Banks, and Robert Hainsey, who are all either offensive linemen or tight ends who were drafted this past season. So I think you guys will really enjoy that. And what I want you guys to do is I want you to do some work. If you're following along at home, I want you to grab a pen and paper or jump onto the notes section of your phone. And I want you to tally how many wins he has against those guys, not just against, against the pass, but also in the run game. So comment below and let me know what you think. There will be 30 reps. So how many do you think he wins out of 30? And then let's see if your predictions match what you count later on, or at least what I count. And then finally, we'll close out with just a quick player comp in terms of his role and fit in the Staley defense. So if you're ready, let's do this. Now I am on Adobe Premiere. I usually try to export the video and then run the plays through there. But I just think for this specifically, I need to use Adobe Premiere Pro. So sorry if the screen's a little bit smaller. Hopefully you can turn your phone sideways or watch on your computer and follow along with me. So the thing you'll notice right off the bat with Rumph is he's asked to move all over. And it's most common to see him lining up either standing up on the outside or with his hands in the dirt on the outside, or occasionally lined up over a guard in pass rushing situations. But he can do a little bit for you. And the first two plays are two plays where his designation is actually to take out the running back and follow him wherever he goes. Now, either of these guys here, as you'll see in just a bit, either of these guys can blitz, right? And they're both showing that they could be coming on pressure here. So just trying to create some sort of confusion for the quarterback, right? Whether it be Rumph, who's here, or his teammate number 40 something here, just a little wrinkle of confusion. So now the first the first play ends up being a complete busted play by the offense. But either way, Rumph is going to be on his guy. I know, boring. But here's the next play where Rumph gets to shine in the same situation. Same thing. He's going to be responsible for the running back. But either him or his teammate, as you can see them lining up, next to each other here, they could blitz in this situation. But obviously, that's like the last play. Rumph does not blitz. He's in charge of the running back. And Rumph just absolutely flies here and gets to the running back for a minimal gain. He's not really fast, but he's quick. Like, I don't believe his RAS score was very good in terms of speed, but I do believe his agility was better, if I'm not mistaken. And what he's really good at is using that quickness to work inside against offensive linemen. He is really quick. And the wins you will see against Notre Dame are generally because of how quickly he can fire across the line of scrimmage. Typically, if not almost every single time, his most frequent pass rush move tends to be a swim move where he just blows forward and beats the lineman across his face to a spot. Now, for the record, like, you'll watch a couple of these plays here, Rashawn Slater, or even someone like, I don't know, Drew Dahlman, even though Dahlman doesn't play tackle, but those kinds of guys could beat Rumph to his spot. But then Slater is so damn fast and then so powerful that I genuinely believe he would beat Rumph on this play 100 out of 100 times. But Rumph is playing UNC, and their talent isn't as great. But we will get a chance to see how he fares against superior talent at Notre Dame. Same thing here off the right guard. I tried my best with these spotlights. I hope you can appreciate that. At least put them in so you guys could find him. It is difficult to find him sometimes when he does have a teammate that wears 86. So it's possible in the Notre Dame game that I have highlighted 86 on accident, but I believe I've got 96 pretty figured out here. So same thing here off the right guard. The play doesn't go towards him, but you see what I mean, right? That same quickness. And if the quarterback kept it, would have been a great tackle for loss. Next play off the left guard. Same thing. Nice play in the run game. Oh, sorry. If the running back had taken the football, it would have been a great play. I believe the quarterback botched the exchange or tried to hold on to it or whatever. I don't know. And then finally, we just have a look at his quickness here, reading the eyes of the quarterback. He's going to get into that passing lane and get his hands up to whack the football into the air and tip it up. And that's big. Like the moment that is in the air is a lot of time for someone who's, maybe situationally very aware, like Drew Tranquil or Asante Samuel Jr., whoever's over there, to come up and catch this ball. Or if it ends up being a fumble, perhaps. If it were a fumble, it's not. But if it were a fumble, perhaps it's a great play for the defense. And so something like that, which Rumph obviously just displayed here, would be really beneficial for this defense. Give Justin Herbert as many drives as possible. So those are some of the ways that Rumph can win, and it's generally predicated on him being quick rather than strong. Last play here, though, which is another positive. I know it doesn't seem like it's going to be a lot of positives, but you get the idea, if you will. And there's some more positives later on, even during his Notre Dame film. I like this play where he doesn't win his matchup like at all, but his motor goes strong and he gets himself in a position to make a play. So if you remember like Emeka Egbule and his pressure against the Saints, it's very crucial pressure, if I'm not mistaken, to help them, I think, either not seal the game, but seal overtime. Either way, you let me know what play that was. But he won just off of, or not won, but the play overall was won because Egbule hustled from whistle to whistle. And so those plays do matter, even if they aren't exactly wins, they do matter. But now the next play starts the negatives. And yes, there are negatives, folks. I know, everyone wants him to be this great pass rusher, and potentially he will be. But he fell to the fourth for a reason, and this is it. And it's not just an issue holding up physically on the outside in the run game. Rumph generally, and I don't know how to say this without sounding mean, but he can sometimes play soft. And granted, this guy would, if we ever got into a fight, this guy would absolutely kill me. He's a great athlete, but he just is kind of soft in the moments in the trenches, if you will. It's one thing to be schemed open or win with quickness, which he does. But when it comes time to, again, no offense, but man up and go to war in the trenches, can you? Joey Bosa absolutely can. He's a perfect example of that. Joey Bosa, he's credited as being a pass rusher, one of the best pass rushers in the league, but he's probably one of the two. If it's Aaron Donald first, I think it's Joey Bosa second in terms of, the best defensive lineman in the league, because it's not just as a pass rusher, but also what he does in the run game. Think of against the Bills, right? Joey Bosa single-handedly almost won that Bills game by himself, partially because he's so good against the run. And granted, the difference between, number 3 overall pick and the 4th round pick Rumph, yeah, that's a lot. But, someone like Uchenna Nwosu started to figure that out this past season. So, Rumph will need some time to be a war dog, to learn how to be that warrior in the trenches. So this play, it's not only him getting pushed out of the play, but when he does disengage, which is good, like he does try to disengage and get back to the running back, he then misses the tackle. And he does have a really poor missed tackle rate. I believe it's in the 20s. So every 5 tackle attempts, he's missing one. So that's not good. The next play, same thing. Some of these are kind of, some of these plays that I have here, and I have a lot of plays. We still have like 40 plays to go. They're not like the worst plays, but the offensive lineman is just a little bit tougher. and Rumph, unfortunately, I don't know if he has short arms. I should have checked that before I said that. But it feels like the lineman will always have longer arms. And for Rumph, as a guy who likes to win by engaging with the lineman first, sometimes he can't. Like he tries to engage, but that lineman is just bigger. They're probably stronger, and they do have longer arms. And then goal line play. I just missed it. Let me go back just a bit. Goal line play here. Here's that arrow. He's right here. And he's just not doing much. And again, these are very basic things. Actually, he does jump in here for the fumble recovery, which, whatever. One of the reasons, that I wanted to show you that was, a lot of people will shrug off Rumph's ability, or excuse me, his issues in the run game as just being from that Miami game. But, it's more than just that. It showed up, in the UNC game. And we just went through some examples where it did show up. And everyone's like, oh, his Miami game was just really bad, but he's really good against the run in other places. Like, no, he does have these issues in other spots as well. So it'll show up here against Miami, which we're about to get into as soon as this play is over. It shows up a lot against Notre Dame, and it even shows up in some of the two plays that I have to show you versus Darrisaw. And before we get into this Miami game, it's kind of more of the same, honestly, but I wanted you to note how often he doesn't just lose, but loses terribly, shoved off the screen, pancaked by tackles, etc. It's not just that he loses, it's that he does have a tendency to get bullied. And that does come with the fact that he is undersized and, not as strong as some of these guys. But then again, can you name the left tackle? Maybe he's a really good prospect. I don't know. But can you name this left tackle here? Can you name the tight end I'm about to show you later from Miami? That's not Brevin Jordan. Some of these guys, he's not Rumph isn't, the strongest, but who's he going up against? Where he's really getting bullied by some of these guys. Now, the other thing is when they played Miami, they wore different jerseys, and I think either all of them or most of them said equality. You can kind of make it out in some of these. They said equality on the back of their jerseys. I'm not really sure what incident triggered this last year. There's a lot that went on last year. But anyway, that's just a heads up for you guys. I'm not crazy. I am watching Chris Rumph here, who you'll see what he does. It looks like the same player with the almost exact same roles as the game I just showed you. So here the tackle just ends up beating Rumph to a spot and laying him out on the other side of the line. And the next play, the tight end here, he takes him and is able to completely steer Rumph in the run game. You want to look for that blocker, the tight end here, to engage with that defensive player. And if the running back is running to the right, you want to have the blocker give the running back his backside so he can run behind him to the right. And that's exactly what happens here. Grabs him, steer over the backside. Granted, the play doesn't work out, but it's not because, Rumph did anything. And the next play, is a great way to counter Rumph, literally. And, hold on one second. Rumph again, once again, shoots that inside kind of destructively. And I don't know, I don't hate the play, but to me, it's just more of that, he's quick to fire, and then what's the plan? And maybe that was just what he was asked to do. Maybe he was just asked to shoot that gap, and that's it. But he's constantly worked out of the run game, and then he falls over again at the end of that play. And I want, again, pay attention to that. He's over on the ground so often. And the next play is more of that I worry about him ending up on the ground. It happens quite a bit. And that's really tiring. And we'll get into where that applies when we get to the Notre Dame game. And again, I'm not saying these are bad plays. It's just things I notice, right? And the next play here, he's just outmanned again, maybe tripped up a little bit, but he ends up with a 300-pound guy on top of him. Again, falling over, and I just really worry about that. And the next two plays, he's basically taken off the screen. Couldn't tell you who this right tackle is. He takes him off the screen. Next play, I think it's the next play of the game. Taken off screen. And the next few plays, oh, excuse me, this play is against Brevin Jordan, and he loses that battle. He will be up here, line up against the tight end, number 9 over here. I do have this on 2 different angles. And, I don't want to say he loses the battle, but it's certainly a stalemate. And Jordan is supposed to not be the best blocker, and he just neutralizes Rumph. So there's number 9 right here. I thought he fell, like watching this angle, I thought he fell over. Or excuse me, I thought he knocked, what's his name? Jordan over. But if you watch the replay here, that doesn't happen. And again, like Jordan, it's funny that I made a joke that Jordan was supposed to be for some reason, Jordan became a worse run blocker as soon as the Chargers drafted Trey McKitty. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Jordan's a pretty decent blocker. And as soon as the Chargers took McKitty, it's like, well, Jordan wasn't that good of a blocker, so that's why the Chargers took McKitty. Like, I just think it's funny to watch people try to rationalize why they took McKitty by knocking what Jordan could do. Like, Jordan was a good blocker. Now, the next few plays, starting with him at the arrow right here, are him trying to win as a pass rusher on the outside, but inevitably failing and not succeeding. You'll see on the end zone angle from here as well that on the outside, he either tries to long arm that tackle and dip or try to work back inside. And he does have a spin move, and it does work on occasion, but he typically isn't strong enough to engage his backside arm on that spin move and finish that move. And I don't know if it's because he's a little bit shorter, but when he does do that spin move and when he does duck under, he's kind of just swinging his backside arm at the waist. So it just looks kind of funky. Whereas, Melvin Ingram, watch him do it against Jacksonville and Ben Barge. Melvin Ingram was a really good spin move in that game. But, that's Melvin Ingram. There are fewer, there are not many guys that are more athletic than Melvin Ingram in his prime. So for the most part, the lineman, like again, falling over one more time, the lineman just wins with leverage and beats him there. And as soon as he loses his arms, and he's always trying to win with them, which is admirable, but he's a smaller body guy against bigger guys. Again, on the ground, again, that is not the same play. And he loses balance, and the lineman doesn't really have to do much but work leverage against him. Same thing here. Tries to go outside, engage his arms, trips, falls, pancaked. That's a lot of plays. All right, so now we're at the Notre Dame game, and there will be 2 reps versus Darrisaw after that. So get your pens out or your phones out and tally these up. Now, kind of like the last one, I'm just going to fly through these because there are so many. Like if you wanted a, 7 play film breakdown, I could do that like a different way. But I just wanted to show you guys, because look, I don't know if you guys have access to any of this. So I think it'd be cool to be able to show you guys all these plays and collect all this information about a prospect. So I am going to fly through these rather than break down like, oh, his hand placement here, he dipped his shoulder, leverage here, 2-punch block by the lineman, yada, yada. I'm just going to make quick comments about these as the plays go. And I know that seems like a lot, but I think it is worth your time to understand the player the Chargers just drafted rather than me just posting 4 plays and saying, oh, he's really good. He has a lot of whatever. So we have 7 plays versus Eichenberg, number 74. We have 10 against Hainsey, number 72. We have 4 against Tremble, number 24. And 7 against Banks, number 69. And then 2 against Darrisaw, 77. But you'll know who that is because he's the not Notre Dame player that we'll look at in just a little bit. So 28 versus Notre Dame and 2 versus Darrisaw for a total of 30. How many do you think he wins? Let me know. Let's get into it. Now, some of these aren't exactly losses. Like when I say loss out loud, I don't always mean that it is a loss because there are plays where he's double teamed by Eichenberg and Banks. Now I do have them in order. And I'll let you know when it switches. So right now we're going to start with the 7 plays versus Eichenberg. But there are some plays when I go over to Banks where it's kind of a combination of Banks and the center maybe, or Banks and Eichenberg. So even if I say it's a loss, I don't really expect him to win a double team like that, especially against 2 guys who were drafted in the 2nd round. That's really not fair. Joey Bosa wins double team, sure, but it's not easy for Rumph to do that. So I'm not going to hold it against him. So even if I say it's a loss, I don't mean like, oh, what a terrible play. And some plays don't even really he doesn't have a chance to impact them. I tried to get rid of some of the plays where he had no impact. So if he like barely started a rush and the quarterback like threw a quick wide receiver screen to the right, I just didn't include that. I wanted some plays where there was kind of a legit, run support or pass rush rep. So I tried my best. And again, if I picked the wrong guy, there is an 86 in here who, again, another guy, 86, kind of that same position, both have one sleeve. If I got the wrong guy, I apologize, but I do think this is all 30 plays against are from Chris Rumph. So the first one here, out of 7, here's Eichenberg. Let's get started. And to me, this is just, like it's a minor loss. Eichenberg is a good mirror here. Again, when I say loss, I don't necessarily always mean that like Rumph had a bad rep. I just mean he didn't impact the play. Same thing here. Eichenberg ends up taking him, mirrors him really well, and just bullies him. The thing you'll notice about this game too, if I showed it you in chronological order, Liam Eichenberg bullies this dude, and Robert Hainsey bullies this dude. And, Aaron Banks gets some shots in too. Tremble has a couple of plays where he whoops him. And by the end of the game, Chris Rumph, I think, is actually pulled because he's so tired and beat up. And I think that, like, I don't know the exact snap counts. I didn't count it. But he went from a guy who was on the field for most plays to a guy who was kind of only there in pass rush situations or like to close out the game when they were just running the ball. So, like, I really think that Notre Dame actually beat this dude out of the game. Next one here, still against Eichenberg. Strong arms, anchor, and just look at him fight. Like Eichenberg, Notre Dame, like legitimately tried to beat this dude up. Like I don't know if Rumph said something to them before the game, but they really didn't like Rumph. Like they went out of their way to bully this kid. Don't know what happened. Another rep here. Like, is it really a loss? Not really. Oh, look at Eichenberg go in space though, man. Like he was ready for whatever. That's impressive. Now this one is going to be a win. It's a great move inside and a great example of what he can do while working inside. The problem is you just can't always rely on that. Steven brought up the great example of, yeah, you could try going inside, but sometimes you're going to go inside and Quentin Nelson is there. And Nelson's not going to let you do that. So now granted, that wasn't like Nelson wouldn't be involved in this play, but I'm glad you can win inside, but you have to also be able to win on the outside, right? So that was a great move there. Let's show one more time. He does, I think, have, well, never mind, I won't spoil it. So good play there. I don't remember the down and distance, but still you can tell that that's obviously a win. And on this one, Eichenberg's pretty immovable. Unfortunately, his buddy behind him actually shoves him forward. So Eichenberg wins the rep with a great two-hand punch, excuse me. Steven will kill me if I say pop. And then his buddy knocks him forward past Eichenberg. So I know I'm not going to count that as a win. And look at the body language here. So this is towards the end. So each guy I watched, each guy's plays I pulled, it goes from the beginning of the game towards the end. Look at the body language from Rumph here. He's beat up, and I'll show you why in a little bit. It's some of those plays like I showed you earlier against Eichenberg, sure, but like Hainsey and Eichenberg really just beat up on this dude. Like that is a dude who does not want to be here. And it's after the Hainsey reps that Rumph gets pulled, but this dude is out of it. And just again, like, does that look like the Miami game? Right? Loses balance, gets pancaked. All right, the next ones are against Hainsey. We have 10 reps against Hainsey here, where he does actually win off of a spin move. It's not like it's a little late, sure. And like, does it impact the play? Maybe. Like the quarterback does kind of mess up and miss this throw. Or maybe it was the running back who couldn't catch it. Let me see. Either way, though, if you watch Rumph, he's spinning and diving. And like more motor, knocks the quarterback down. Like that's a win in my book, right? Next play here. Good punch. I don't know if it's just Notre Dame in general, but all their guys like to do that punch. Nice two-hand punch. Is it diverse? Not really. Like Slater wins in different, more, a variety of ways more than Notre Dame's guys does, but they do have a punch and it does work. It does obviously work against Rumph here. So again, just boom, my arms are longer. Win from Hainsey there. Now, this is easily, if this is the play I'm thinking of, this is easily his best rep of the game. He's going to win by, with a great dip of the shoulder and bend to win. Long arm, or excuse me, not long arm. But he's going to use, usually he's a long arm kind of guy, but he always just uses his hands. He does use his hands here. Dip that shoulder. Bend to the quarterback. No sack, but that's a good rep right there. Another play here. Not bad. I don't think there's much he could have done there anyway, but a decent rep from Hainsey. Boom. Nice punch there from Hainsey. I don't know if I count that as a missed tackle, but he does have missed tackles. But he is on the ground, right? And this kind of contributes to what you saw with that last rep against Eichenberg, where he's dead asleep. He does not want to be there. This one, another one where he falls down. I believe this is the next play. Loses again. Pancakes. Next play. Just blown off the line of scrimmage. And then finally here, it's hard to see, but he loses his balance. And it's just pancaked. And, I think you're starting to see what I was seeing. But there's more. So now we have him against Aaron Banks. The Banks tape is a little tricky because he's not always isolated one-on-one versus Banks like he would a tackle. But he does get out physical here and washed out by Banks. This next play here, first of all, this was a tough one. I'm pretty sure this is 96, but this one really looks like 96 too. So if this is 96, he doesn't quite just work up against Banks, but I'll just show it anyway. There's just too many bodies for him to do anything. But again, look how physical they are with him, man. They absolutely bullied this dude. Another one. I mean, look at Banks and Eichenberg work him. Oh my God. It's murder. Man. So not good there. Another one, just pop. Solid anchor from Banks there. Kind of Eichenberg, kind of Banks. Pop. Not much you can do there, really. This one, he just kind of washes himself out of the play. And that's the thing. If you know where your blocking responsibilities are, you can just wash this dude right out of the game, right out of the play. Sorry if I'm not breaking all these things down like you'd want me to hear you, me break every single play down. Just showing you what I see. If I'm not mistaken, this is his win against Banks, and he gets his hand on top of Banks' left arm and then dips Banks a little bit and then just speed rushes to the quarterback. I shouldn't say speed rushes, but, dips and runs and does affect the play. Okay. 4 more plays against Tommy Tremble. Here we go. And in this one, he's, he doesn't end up on his back, but Tommy Tremble this dude's just such a fun blocker, man. Tremble just wants to fight this dude. Oh, I love watching Tommy Tremble. I tried to go rectangles here to show you where he was. It looks like Rumph does get to the ball carry here, but I promise you he doesn't on the end zone view. He's just blown off the line, and he doesn't get to him until the other guy has gotten to him, and then he just kind of falls into a tackle or an assisted tackle, I suppose, but it's definitely not a win. Now this one, he does win. He's super fast, and Tremble just lunges, and he just tosses him aside. Whoop! Right? Like a matador? Is that right? I don't know. Whoop! Unfortunately, I think this was a first down for Notre Dame. So Tremble technically did his job by getting in the way. But, oh well. Last play here. Not much, just neutralized. And then we'll go with our 2 plays versus Christian Darrisaw here before we get into kind of a player role comparison. So this one's kind of unfortunate. I mean, look at the size difference between Christian Darrisaw and Chris Rumph. Darrisaw just kind of hugs him and he doesn't win, unfortunately. Just kind of like, hello. So he does get a good pop on him, but when you're not all that strong and you don't have like another, like, what is he's trying to go through Darrisaw? He's trying to go inside of Darrisaw? What was the plan there? I don't know. And the last one here in the run game, he's over here. Sorry, I should have highlighted Darrisaw, but I figured, he's the left tackle. Left tackle here. And he's just kind of pushed around. Does that look like anything different? There was another play in this game. I couldn't find it, but I can tell you that he did not win. So I counted 4 wins. Maybe you counted less, maybe you counted more. Some of you will bring up his PFF stats, and that's fine. They do show that he had a better game than 4 wins, like I just said. But remember, I did not include the right guard or the center from Notre Dame. So, if some of the pressures or run stops are against those guys, that's probably why I just went with the guys that were drafted. So 4 wins, I think, versus in 30 reps against 1 first rounder, 2 second rounders, and 2 third rounders. Is that enough at the NFL level? I don't know. But I think some of the stats and high pressure percentages and all those dazzling numbers do need some context and some further study. Like if you guys know of another player that was drafted that he went up against and had a better game, I would love to hear it. I don't know every player. Obviously, I know half the Notre Dame line because I was, there's so many players that were good on the offensive line or the tight end, of course. Like I know Darrisaw. But, if there's another player that he just whooped that was drafted, let me know. I'd love to watch it. So, a little bit of context would be like, who's he going up against? Did he win the one-on-ones himself? Or was he schemed into that pass rush? Was he just looping back inside and had a free shot because the defensive coordinator schemed it that way and his buddies did his job for him? And then finally, even with those numbers, even with those pass rush numbers, I'd want to know, like, how was he in the run game? Why was he missing so many tackles? I didn't see a whole lot of missed tackles in the tape that I just showed you guys, but he missed, I think 22, or excuse me, he didn't miss 22%. He had a missed tackle rate of 22, I believe, which is not good. So moving forward, here's his role, right? And then it's kind of fitting considering who his edge is, right? Be a stand up, edge, pass rush specialist, which is similar to what Leonard Floyd did with the Rams. Although Floyd, like, watch some of his reps, he's way more powerful and is a better pass rusher. It's just, this is just a comparison of role more than it is player, but it does make sense considering, they did some similar things. I mean, look, they're standing up on the outside, but B, also because of Brendan Staley. So I think this is a fitting role comparison, right? Get the hands down, dip, get to the quarterback. I'm obviously not doing a film breakdown on these guys. Oh, but here's another play, like, some good hustle there to get to the quarterback. Kind of what, sorry, this is the hustle play. A good pass rush play. Sorry, I should be telling you. This is number 54, Leonard Floyd. Right, good work on the hands, a lot of effort, some short area quickness. Now this one's all effort, and I showed you that effort play earlier, and that's why I think this role comp kind of works. Right, he gets an effort sack here, in the same vein of what Rumph did earlier. So, all in all, here's where I stand. I think Rumph will be a solid rotational pass rush piece for Staley. He can move all over the defense. Staley has referenced several times that he wants to find ways to put pressure on offenses from different points, almost like it's a death by pass rush acupuncture, if you will, where you're just going to poke and pry with different defensive needles to make the quarterback really uncomfortable. But that's it. All right, guys, that is it for me. I know this was a long one and maybe like a quantity sort of thing more than quality, if you will. I didn't do like a really in-depth breakdown of 6 or 7 plays, but I think this giant overview of Rumph hopefully gives you guys a better idea of who this guy is, what he's good at, obviously, and what he's not good at, obviously. So thank you very much for sticking around. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. And be sure to jump over to our other breakdowns for sure. I know Steven has a breakdown of Rashawn Slater that's already up. That's awesome. I loved that breakdown. And I believe the time that you see this video on Patreon, he will have a Brendan Hymas video up as well. So he's taking care of the blockers. I'm on Rumph. Next up for me will probably be Nick Neiman or Mark Webb, but we'll see. But either way, all right, guys, thank you guys very much for sticking around. Take care. And as always, bolt up.